Welcome to the Build on Beauty podcast, where beauty is born skin deep. Now, here's your host, author, speaker, entrepreneur, Cornell Jermaine.
Hey, I am back. It's Cornell Jermaine with the Build on Beauty podcast. Thank you so much for your continued support. Listen, I am back on this Money Making Monday with the part 2. If you missed it last week, we re-aired the part 1 of Getting Paid in the Pandemic with business finance expert Vanessa McBee. For those who listened to that episode, I trust that it was informative and enlightening to you as it pertains to the opportunities and financing that are available to you in this current pandemic. This is part 2 of that same episode. Now, I must explain again, if you didn't know, I do a show on Facebook Live on Wednesdays typically, and these are typically topics that we talk about that are highly, sensitive to the climate. So we've had several subjects on racism and financing and suicide, mental health. So these are topics that are so necessary for the current climate that we're in. And every now and then I take those episodes and re-air them on the podcast, because obviously you guys who listen to the podcast regularly don't probably listen or watch, or some of you may, I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you do. But most of you probably do not see us on Facebook Live. If you don't, I invite you to join us on Wednesdays. Just follow me simply on Facebook or Instagram at Cornell Jermaine, Cornell Jermaine, Cornell Jermaine on Facebook and Instagram, or whatever platform you prefer. And you'll always get updates as to what topics we're going to be discussing on the Wednesday night shows. And you can tune in live on Facebook and comment and engage with us there. It's always a fun and an exciting time. But every now and then I decide to re-air some of those episodes on the podcast, typically because I feel they are necessary topics that probably the broader audience needs to hear. So we played, or I should say re-aired part 1 for Getting Paid in the Pandemic last week as the flashback episode. And when I say flashback, these episodes took place maybe a month ago. And to this week, we're going to re-air part 2, because I want you guys to have a full scope, the full length, breadth, and depth of what it is that Vanessa McBee, the business finance expert who was on the show with us, the full length and breadth of what it is that she had to share as pertains to not only getting paid in the pandemic, but just financing wealth, building Black wealth in America, all of those topics we discussed. And we got deeper into the conversation on part 2. So I'm excited to let you hear it. If you did listen to part 1, let me know what your thoughts were in the comments. I'd love to hear your commentary, your perspective on the topic. And by all means, let part 2 lead you into more discussion, and I'm willing and open to hear your commentary on this episode as well. So without further ado, here's part 2 of Getting Paid in the Pandemic with my guest, Miss Vanessa McBee.
Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I have a special guest with me. She is back. She was with us last week on Getting Paid in the Pandemic, which she gave us a wealth of knowledge and information. When I tell you, look, I'm gonna be hood right now. I gotta put my little cocoa butter on. I'm sorry, my hands dry.
Cocoa butter. I'm urban, baby. I'm urban. You know it's urban now. We urban now.
With this corona, we gotta wash our hands every 5 minutes. My hands be dry as sandpaper.
We ain't even gotta worry about it. You know, we all chocolate in style now. You ain't even gotta do nothing about it. You can be as chocolate as you want to be. They love it right now.
Right. But thank you so much for joining us. Miss Vanessa McBee. She is a business finance expert, strategist, consultant. And she was with us last week. For those who did not catch us, she was with us last week explaining specifically the Paycheck Protection Program. But she got into just money, the currency, business, building your wealth. I mean, she covered so much. And within that time, she contacted me and letting me know that there's some updates. You know, as we know, things are changing with a lot of these programs. Every day there are updates and things coming. So we felt it a need to come back and share those updates with you so that you are aware of how to properly navigate this paycheck protection program. But for those who did not watch, Vanessa, give us just a recap on what exactly the Paycheck Protection Program is and who it's for.
Okay. Well, the Paycheck Protection Program was part of the CARES Act, and it was put into place as a recovery funding option for you. For those people who have a payroll where they pay W-2 employees, or if they are self-employed or receive a 1099. So whether you receive a 1099 or have a Schedule C where you're making a revenue from the Schedule C, this is what is geared to be the Paycheck Protection Program. And really the course of it gave some wonderful benefits, especially for those people who are still in business or getting back into business at this point. This is a great time to be the funding party on that. For a lot of people, there was a lot of toss up between whether or not we take the pandemic money or we take the tax credit, or, you know, what options we go through. But right now, for all those people who are going to do that last moment applying, this is going to be the paycheck that you can receive for the next 8 weeks that will be able to compensate you for the time that you're trying to recover your business. So the Paycheck Protection Program, in essence, is the protection of your paycheck or the paychecks you issue.
Okay. Now let's, just for those who are wondering, the Paycheck Protection Program is a program that started with the whole pandemic. They created this.
Correct.
And the money, give us that figure again of the amount that they initially allocated for this.
Okay. The first allocation for the Paycheck Protection Program was $359 billion. It was eaten in 3 weeks.
3 weeks, y'all. 3 weeks, billions of dollars. So that lets me know that there are people out here not only that need it, but have found a way to use the funds to their advantage.
Correct.
And we need to be those people. But keep going.
And then the second allocation was $310 billion. There is a hovering amount. It went down to 100 billion and recovered itself up to 130 billion from people passing that money back in who didn't need it in the first place. So it's hovering at $130 billion, which means that the time for you to apply will run out before the money will.
Okay. Now, it's my understanding that we have until the 30th to actually apply for this, June 30th.
Okay, let me tell you, that's one of our updates.
Okay.
June 30th is the last day that the SBA will underwrite a loan. Not that we can apply. They're cutting off applications and all resources on June 26th, which cut us short 4 days, so that they can underwrite anything that's still in limbo by the 30th. And then we'll cut the whole program by the 30th. Now, it's my understanding that they're going to reallocate those funds to another relief effort. It's going to be probably remaining, my estimate is going to remain at least 129 of that 130 billion will still be hanging out there. So most of that money will be reallocated probably over to the SBA again, or maybe to another recovery program that they'll initiate with this money that's outstanding, because they're not going to return it anywhere. They're going to put it into some other thing that's going to spark the economy, because other than that, it's going to be terrorism right now. You know what I mean? It's just not going to look good. So we have to do something to be able to recover ourselves, whether that just be for paychecks or, you know, whatever options that we're going to take. But we only have, as of today, we're looking at about 8 more physical days for us to be able to apply for this funding. And obviously, for them to even estimate that it was requiring $310 billion, there are more people who actually qualify for this money. They did real-time calculations. So there are more people who qualify for this money. They were looking at all your self-employed people. They were looking at all your independent contractors, gig workers, people who are making side incomes. There are a lot of people who even their partial income could be replaced by this particular allocation, but we have to take advantage of what's there to be taken advantage of. So that's the key to us being able to, move forward with this agenda.
Wow. So that's important for us to note, guys. The new date for the Paycheck Protection Program is not the 30th. It is the 26th. Your application has to be in by the 26th so that they can underwrite your loan by the 30th. Let's explain something here, because I thought about a scenario when we got off last time, and you have a lot of, especially in our community, we got a job here and we got our side gig. We work for so and so, and then we do hair or makeup on the side.
Yes.
Can an individual like this qualify for this Paycheck Protection Program?
They absolutely can, under one condition: that on that Schedule C, it is a positive income reported. Let me tell you what ends up happening. A lot of times we're doing particular activities on the side. These activities may be something that they say, hey, you know what, we're going to write off the activities and we're going to have a negative on our tax return in order to offset a tax obligation from a W-2 paying job. That works in reverse for you. That works in reverse for you everywhere, but it especially proves itself in this situation. And I think that a lot of things that happen through the recovery allocations are just highlighting weaknesses in the way we do business that can strengthen us overall as a community. So if you're having a situation where you're reporting negative, I'm minus, if you look at line 31 on your Schedule C, and it says I'm minus $3,000, $6,000, $10,000. Well, that's a great thing for a tax situation. It means that you don't have a big tax obligation. On the other hand, it means that you didn't make money. So when a person like myself goes to say, you know what would boost your side hustle to make it your main hustle, if we could get you some capital, if we can get you some micro loans, if we can get you some startup capital. A lot of times they complain in our era, we don't have access to capital. We're not structured for capital because we have to be trusted with what we're allocated. Would you, if you had your firstborn, your dog, you didn't even need your child, your dog, and the person who you said, this person's going to babysit my dog, and they don't have no windows in their house, you don't know if the dog gonna be there tomorrow morning, you're not gonna leave your dog over there. So not even in a dog could we trust something that's not structured to be able to take care of the thing that we're looking to do. We have to prove ourselves worthy by believing we're worthy. And when we believe ourselves to be worthy, we're going to prove ourselves worthy. Money will attract itself to you. It's a mandatory. So these are the options that just show you, hey, you know what? Let me report the fact that I have that side hustle. I'm good with the side hustle. I'm a hustler to entrepreneur converter. That's what I do. I love taking a hustler, bringing them into a business space and teaching them how to make that their lifestyle and be able to cultivate their whole world with the freedom of being able to work for themselves. And the same thing about being a hustler, but being able to access capital, being able to be able to pay for your home, access a loan for a car, do things that you want to do and be the same as a W-2 employee with the freedom of being an entrepreneur. But again, it's going to take for us to be groomed for that position. So we have to have positive reporting on that side hustle. Yes, absolutely. I actually have several clients with W-2 jobs who qualified $2,000, $5,000, $7,000 extra because their side money wasn't covered in that particular situation. So as long as they claimed it, absolutely.
So guys, that is important to note because many people thought this was just for self-employed individuals. This can be for you even if you work at Chrysler full time and you do makeup or pedicures in your side time. You can still qualify for the Paycheck Protection Program. So another scenario I had, and this is so funny, I just talked to someone yesterday, I think it was, who works at a summer program sometimes, and they got a call just to see if they were available because the owner applied for this program and none of her employees want to come back to work. So she is, let's say she is allocated for, on her paperwork, 15 employees and only 5 have returned for the summer program. So now she's in search for people to work. Break down that scenario. In that instance, how would that work for an individual that claimed all of these W-2 employees, but then none of them want to return for work, and now you're stuck looking at this loan, and what are they to do in this situation?
Okay. I'm going to move through this in several phases. Okay. First to note is that in order for any of the Paycheck Protection Program loan to be forgiven, any penny of it, 60% of the revenue has to be spent on employees. Okay. That's fail safe. All right. Now, that's the first requirement, and that's the mandate. No matter how the rest of it goes, 60% of it has to be spent on employees, their sick leave, whatever they need to have, okay? The second phase of what's happening is the 15 employees that she has, there is another level of, excuse me, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. There's another level of it where there is a mandatory amount of staff that you have to rehire. You see the rehiring qualification. They're saying that you have to hire all of your staff back in order for you to be able to do that. Only less about 25%. Okay, so 75% of your staff needs to be back in-house for you to be able to qualify. Now, let me tell you what happened on the Paycheck Protection Program modification. There was a modification to this act that was passed about a week and a half ago. In that, people kept complaining about the same thing that lady has. And the situation is, not only do they not want to come back to work, number one, a lot of people are not going to trust having a job now because we've had the bottom ripped from us. So you're going to watch, and I am watching a flood of people coming into the entrepreneurial space. You know, hey, today's the day. I don't have no job. I'm not trying to go back. Let's go on ahead and move into, I want to sell whatever. I want to do whatever. So that's another option. A lot of people are switching the way that they're going to do business. That being said, that lady can get around the mandate for the staff through 2 outs that they gave her. They gave her 2 exceptions to that rule. Number one, let's say she has a, what business was it?
Daycare summer program.
Oh, that perfect example. I have a daycare in Miami that we're working with, and the lady has 100 child capacity. 5 children came back. 5 out of 100. She cannot staff 8 people, 9 people that she originally said, because there is nothing for this staff to perform because there is not enough clientele to meet the need. Okay, because of the impact of what COVID did, now there is no demand for the staff. That's one of the outs. So because she has been impacted by COVID and the re-entry to that situation has been affected, she is able to make a letter of explanation justifying the fact that she cannot continuously hold up to a staff of this amount because there is no reason for it. There is more people on her staff than in her daycare. Okay, that's number one. Number two is if she has said to her staff, excuse me, your job is now available as of June 15th. You're open to be rehired. You have to give us an answer within 48 hours as if you're accepting this position back or not. That has to be documented on a sheet of paper. Once they are there and they say they either did not respond at all, or they have documented in some response that they're not going to come back to that job position, she now again has the capability to say she's offered this job and they will not be back. Okay, so those are the two exceptions. If COVID did it, it's part of that reentry situation. If they offered the job to the people and they denied the access to that job, if they denied accepting that job at the same pay rate, he's able to get out of that regulation. So both of those, I don't want her to scramble around to see the people. What she really needs to do is to be able to produce a letter of explanation as long as she's meeting that 60% threshold.
Okay. Well, now let's talk about the nonprofit space as it pertains to the Paycheck Protection Program. Many churches are in need of this offering. How are they to navigate this as a nonprofit?
Well, nonprofits are required to be in the same position as corporations are. Anybody who is a corporation, whether that be an S corporation or a C corporation, is supposed to pay a salary of income. Okay, there's a difference between having a salary and then having profit from something. So this is dedicated to you having a salary. So for the nonprofits, let's just say that the pastor is paid on a 1099. They won't qualify because that pastor is not a technical employee. He's a contractor now. But if that pastor is paid every week or every 2 weeks on a W-2 where they're filing a 941 quarterly tax report and reporting taxes on the income for that pastor, then that pastor and that money is now qualified to be able to receive. I have actually 3 pastors that became qualified, 3 churches that were qualified because they have payroll systems under their churches which pay out with the 941. So as long as we were able to get 941 from them, that they're paying a salary, we're good. And we can go on ahead and qualify them. And this is the time, because again, we're starting a slow reentry now. Now there's certain qualifications of us being able to come back to work. This is the time you really need the coverage while you're gaining momentum.
Okay. We've got to talk about this season that we're in and just life in general, because many people are stepping out, because like you say, because of what happened, into the entrepreneurial space.
That's
However, in history, as a community, we do well getting our money and grinding and getting it. Yes, but this season has taught us that sometimes our practices are not in place to be able to qualify for special things when they become available. None of us thought we would ever be in a place that we would have to go home and sit down for 3 months and not be able to do our gig, whether that be wash cars, paint houses, do hair, makeup, whatever it is. But we were in that space. And I think many of us learned that we may not have been in the best position, So give us some specifics on how we need to, even for those that are jumping into the entrepreneurial space, how we need to establish ourselves so that we can be ready if something like this ever was to happen again.
We will go through the countdown. This is what I train on. This is my primary function in my community and in all urban communities as well, to be able to prepare you, and not just in special occasions. There are billions and billions and this is not new. This is the 20th year of disaster funding.
Wow.
Every single time there is a good wind in the street, anything that's declared a disaster, there's an SBA application issue. A lot of us are not able to qualify for that at that time. Therefore, we don't even apply. Not only that, every single day of our lives, we have micro lending, you have 504 programs, you have 7A programs, 8A programs, you have different programs that are attached to not only funding, get ready, but government contracting. There are $13 trillion in federal contracts. Guess who gets priority? Minorities, women-owned businesses, and people who live in disadvantaged areas. So a lot of our lifestyles They're wanting to give you money and wanting to give you money. I'm in Miami, so several times we'll get the Super Bowl to come down here. The Super Bowl is obligated to do business with us. Are we registered as vendors during that time? No. So they're going to the same circle of people who knew the trick of the trade in the back, and they got hooked them. They hooked up Johnny and Sally got hooked up, and that's it. And they're circulating all of our money in that small circle of people. So let me explain to you what needs to happen. The first thing you need to do as an entrepreneur is get your mind right. You have to be ready here, because you're going to face some days, and you're going to face some days that if you don't believe in God, you might want to revisit that theory, because yeah, okay, one of those, right? So there's going to be some times where you're going to really feel like everything is going nuts and I can't survive it. There are going to be some trying times before you hit that, what they call the tipping point, which gets you into a flow of just abundant opportunities and money and reputation and things like that. There's a test before there's a triumph, and that's just entrepreneurship. If anybody tells you anything different, if you get on one of these, download it today, learn it tomorrow, and be a millionaire the next day, it ain't gonna. Don't
trust it.
Don't. If it don't seem right in the spirit, it probably is not gonna turn out right in the flesh. So that's number one. Get your mind right. Number two, go do what you're doing. Okay. And I understand a lot of people are like, oh, well, we need to register. We need to regulate. We need to do it. Well, at the end of the day, to be honest, you are registered. Your name is a business. They call it the sole proprietor, or for lack of a better term, self-employed. You are a business status already, one neglected, but absolutely one to be claimed. The second part of that is your social security number is your trading number. If you notice, your social security number and the EIN number have the exact same number of digits. Because when you separate yourself business-wise, that business is just a new body registered to the United States with the ability to do business. Every time you go to work, you do business. Mm-hmm. That's why they tell, as soon as you sit down, when they fill out the application, what they say? Let me get your social security number. Because they need to know what instrument they'll be trading with in order to make sure that you are getting compensated for the labor that you're exchanging. So that medium of exchange is business in its own right. So at the end of the day, go do what it is you're going to do. If you're going to fry turkey legs, go fry turkey legs. If you're going to sell hair, sell hair. Yes, you do need to cater to your obligations, but you need to find out whether or not you like what you do first, because trying to go and register all the paperwork before we know that we're in a passionate state, passion keeps you going on those weary days. So if you love what you do, I fought through it. I mean, there are people who are around me who it wouldn't have mattered if I come out of this as a billionaire, they would never go through my walk, because it was so hard. But it took for me to be who I am, for me to make you who you are. So this conversation was a blessing of an outpouring of fruit from a tree that started as a seed. So it's time for us to be able to believe in us enough to be able to pour in that type of energy to cultivate, because you know what's happening? Your boss is doing it. Your boss did what I'm doing. The W-2 boss did what I'm doing. And at the end of the day, when you get your paycheck, it's a different exchange level than a person who's willing to dive into something first and then reap in a later time. So it takes a lot for you to go through. You need to know that you're passionate about, you need to know that you really like brownies before you start a brownie shop. Because going through right now, I can tell you exactly structurally how to do it. I can tell you all the ins and outs about it. I can waste all the time in the world. You can waste all the money paying me. I can give you an entire blueprint on how to open this business. And then you know what you're going to do with that blueprint? Put it down. Because until you've established that you're passionate enough to continue, then it's not going to work. When you're doing what you're doing, put it in a bank account. Go establish one account. And I'm not talking about that account that you got Uber Eats on speed dial. I'm not talking about the one that's connected to your to your Uber account that you jumping in a car. I'm not talking about the one, that's not the one. This is strictly for the business activity that you're doing. You're going in, you're going out. I'm spending it on the hair. I'm spending it on Facebook ads to sell the hair. I'm reaping off of that. Whoever's paying me, Cash App is connected to. Whatever way you're doing the business you're doing, do it through an account. Then you can account for it when it's time for us to go back and clean your house up for you.
Mm. That's
the third one. That's a big one. And I'm telling you, people who have been seasoned business owners for 20 and 30 years are not moving like this. And it is keeping you from astronomical opportunities. I'm not talking about, hey, we can get a little $500 bonus. We can get a little grant from somebody. No. I am telling you, there is a micro loan program right now that will give you between $5,000 and $50,000 for a good idea if it's tracked. That is all and there's so many people who's got authorization to give out this money, it will blow your mind. That's what you want to do first, okay? Once you are there, once you've been doing what you're doing for at least 3 months with no air, and you say to yourself, I can do this for the rest of my life, then you establish your business in your respective state, and you establish your EIN in the federal space. So you want to start doing business under an EIN, and I don't care if you just one person doing that business. You want to start putting it outside of your body now. Because if you do that, there are banks, there are entities, there are foundations, there are opportunities, there are contractor opportunities. There are so many different ways that you will be able to just connect with a force and make a running paycheck for the rest of your life. It's not even fun. There are people who literally doesn't even touch the money. Doesn't even touch the product and getting just checks. They're ordering from one place, it's going to the government, they're shipping it from one to the other. You're the middleman, you're getting paid.
Wow.
So now those are the things to pay attention to.
You said something that's so profound. You said practice in whatever it is that you think you want to do for 3 whole months before you even think about establishing the business. I think that is news to many of us, because I think a lot of us get caught up in, well, what's my business name? I need to buy a website.
My brand.
I need a logo.
Yes.
You said don't worry about any of that for 3 months.
At least. And it's funny that you're saying even that, because I said I have a radio show that I do on Sunday on the Great FM. And I told them on last Sunday, I said, I know every business professor I had would probably throw trash at me for even starting to say but I'm expensive. I want y'all to understand I'm expensive. And you don't want to start investing in people like me who can really give you the GPS blueprint for your entire business. Step by step, put you into the money, not have you roaming around trying to figure out where the money is, but I'm gonna put you into the money. What use are you to do that with me when you have to actually activate this thing? You have to know that you're gonna do it. You have to do it without no other situations going on. You have to put yourself all into it. I'm not talking about your brand. Your brand, let's go on the brand real quick. Your brand is the value you exchange when you are doing business. My brand is me getting every one of you loan ready. The more I can get you loan ready, the better my brand is strengthening, because I have evidence in the way you express yourself. That's what a brand is. It's valuation. What's your value? I'm not talking about what color your hair is, or if you got contacts on, or if you took a picture with a thing in the back with a tree. No. I'm not talking about what you look like. I'm not talking about what your logo stands for. I'm talking about, what do you reproduce? What is circular? Because what's circular will feed you. It's going to feed you in every season. Circulation will feed you. You need to focus on getting money. And I know that's got to be the craziest thing. That probably is the most obvious thing in business, right? No, it's not. They don't even think about it. People come to me all day. I need a business plan. You know how much a business plan costs? You sure? You might want to talk to me first about how do we get to the money.
Wow.
Before we even start trying to structure, before I can get you a loan. If I go to a loan, if I borrow from you, Cornell, and I say, Cornell, the millionaire, I need I need $10,000, Cornell. What do you need to know from me?
What you need it for, and will I get it back?
And
when?
And
how much?
You ain't even care about how, just when. How? When? What you need it for? What you doing? Okay. What do you know what you're doing? How much does it cost? What you making on it? Huh? You know, and I get into this stuff with people. No, you don't even understand. I've been writing business plans for at least 15 years on that alone. And people, I will sit down and I'm telling you, we're talking about people making $100,000 a year, no problem, in their business. What's your capacity? I don't know. How much do you spend? I don't know. How much does it cost for you to make one unit of whatever it is that you're creating? I don't know. Who are you shopping with? Did you pick the right person? I don't know. Is it a person? How many other people can offer the same similar product? I tell the two things people will always come to me with is that I have no target market and I have no competitors. And neither one of those things are true. Because a 4-year-old don't want your shoes. They don't. Your shoes are for grown people. So they're not in your target, but your target market is not everyone. There is somebody who is specifically cut to buy what it is that you're selling. Take your time and know what you are, who you're worthy. You're worthy in investing in you in time, money, and energy. Time, money, and energy.
I've got to put a pin in that. Something you just said was so important to note. Target audience. And I can speak to this because I've seen this in my business and in businesses around me. A lot of times in our community, we can just cook. We can just do hair. We just good at what we do. And we believe that just because we're good at it, everybody is going to want it.
That's right.
How do we then take that step to really know who our market is? Is it based on who responds to the offering? Or based on who we create or target for the service or whatever it is we're selling?
Okay, so there's 2 levels. You have a direct audience and an indirect audience. Let's take the food. The direct audience is the people who will go and eat soul food specifically. Let's say I'm cooking beans and rice. I'm cooking red beans and rice with some bacon dressing.
Coleslaw. Don't get me started.
Okay, wait, in the styrofoam. It got to go in the styrofoam. It can't just go on the plate. It's got to get into the styrofoam. Okay, so let's just say that I have that type of plate. Well, everybody in my audience is not your target market. So let's take, and this is where I usually come from. I start looking at your demographics. I want to know who's within your mile or who's within your city. And then I start looking at your demographics. Who's the more probability of eating this type of food? Now, we're going to make assumptions from the beginning, and then you're going to track your data as you go. So if you find yourself, you look out to your audience, 75% of the people who are around you come from the other side of town, then you know that your target audience really isn't us. It's other people. If you find yourself, now that's the direct audience. You're looking for who is the biggest probability. Now, let's go off assumptions because we're going to initially do a plan based on assumptions. Okay. So you're assuming if I'm eating red beans and rice and catfish, me and you going to eat that. They're not going to eat that. That's a little too spicy. That's not what they do, okay? So we already know who we feed. So we can look into the census and look at how many of our community look like us, and that's your target audience.
Okay.
So now you're looking at a real audience number. It might be 10,000 people in your particular community within a mile radius of where you are who are of an urban descent, of an ethnic culture. And we now know that 10,000 people have a probability of coming into our area to be our audience. In that case, that's what we know as a direct. Now, indirectly, it's everybody who's eating, because you don't know that a person who is eating salmon on a regular day won't slide there and be like, what is this? Johnny, you know, and next thing you know, you're blown up in a sect that you don't even know is available. So you want to know also what other things are in your area to eat, which is your competition, and it's also swallowing the outside level of your audience. So that's your indirect audience. So if you have a population of 50,000, 10,000 of us are probable that you're going to eat. Your direct market is 10,000. Your indirect market is 50.
Wow, that's good. I've got to deal with, because you're a business finance expert, so you help businesses get funding, but
yes,
you can't deal with the business finances without dealing with the personal. And I know in our community, a lot of times we go into business in personal debt. Talk to that. Is there a certain preparedness that we need to have in our personal finances before we step out into business?
No, not before you step out into business. But once you are into making money, you're going to have to do a very, very important, essential thing. And I'm going to tell you all a real big secret. Everybody on Facebook is going to learn the secret to being prepared for loans. Pay your bills. Okay, this your bill. It's your house. Don't start with the landlord ain't fixed the window, so I'm going to rehold the rent, and we going to go and the utilities people, I really ain't got the paid. I ain't got the last notice before they get ready to turn it off yet. So I really got 17 more days. Pay the bill 5 days before it is due. It's the key to immaculate credit. Now, mind you, I do it all. I do credit repair. We do business development to be able to help your particular business bring in more revenue. We do partnerships with affiliate programs so that we can go on ahead and have active and passive revenue streams. We do inside what we're going to cultivate. But if I clean your credit today and you don't pay your bills tomorrow, what good is what I did? Mind you, I'm going to get paid because mine is up front. You understand? I don't invest in what it is that your future is. That's your job. But at the end of the day, if you don't pay your bills and you don't have a habit of pay, if a person lends you, again, the millionaire, go ahead and lend you $10,000, he said, first thing he said, he didn't say what you're going to do with it. He didn't even want to know how you were going to get it back. All he wanted to know is when he was going to get his back. That's what he wants to know. And so does everybody who loans you the money. They want to know when they're getting theirs back. That's what they want to know. My parents, both of them clear over 800 credit scores. And the way that they do it, clear. I'm not talking about like 801. We're talking leak. My father walked into a bank, told him I need $20,000. The teller gave him a cashier's check and one sheet of paper. Not that he had to sit down with a loan officer, look at his options, nothing. They looked at his credit. They said, sir, here. 50 more people called him and said, we got some money for you too. Wow. That's what life is at an 800 credit score. And that's what you deserve because you are an 800 credit score, whether you've treated yourself right or not. This is the moment for us to change the way we treat ourselves because we are worthy. So what you're going to do is invest in yourself. Where you live, that is the most important. That's where you're going to spend most of your time. That's where your family is cultivated together. That's where all your memories come from. That deserves your investment. Invest into it. So at the end of the day, that shouldn't be a gripe. That should be a glory. Do you understand how our ancestors would beg for the type of living that we had, even in the poorest communities that we have? They would beg for a Section 8 program. They were living in stuff with our houses. They were earning the right to do this. And we're gifted in all types of ways. We're assisted to be able to move forward in our agenda. And I understand the gaps and I understand the transitional problems. I understand. I've studied urban socioeconomics pretty much all of my life. So when I tell you I understand from a way that a book cannot teach you and an outsider cannot show you, I understand. But we have to become better of who we are in order for us to be better as a society. Our life has to matter to us before it's going to matter to anybody else. So what we invest in what we are is pay your bills. As soon as you pay your bills for 24 months and you're paying them 5 days ahead of time and you're paying every bill on time, let me tell you what they do. They charge their rent, not rent. They charge their mortgages. They charge their utilities. They charge the car payment. They charge the insurance. They charge everything on a credit card and pay the credit card off 25 days out. That's what built them to the 800 score. So they would pay what they had to pay anyway. There is no interest bearing on your account until it's past 30 days due. So when you see those crazy APRs, they don't mean anything to you if you pay it within that 30-day block. So don't be scared of being in debt. Be diligent in somebody trusting you with the debt. I don't believe in being debt free. I believe in being debt responsible. And the more that you believe that you are able to be able to recover, and I'm not talking about go shopping on the furniture. I'm talking about proactive debt. That's going to be something that you're going to circulate to be able to bring more revenue in the house, because you got to be able to pay for this stuff. Before you ever buy anything, pay for it. But go borrow, because borrowing sets credit up. Even in the Paycheck Protection Program, not to steer too far off, a lot of the self-employed people, because they don't have certain things that they claim on their income tax for 2019, will end up having to pay at least 25% of that amount of that paycheck protection loan back. That's actually the best thing that's ever happened to you in disguise. If you pay that payment back, auto pay, set it up for 5 days before they say it's due and tell them take it out your account. And I don't care if you got to eat beans and rice and you got to go on ahead and have your date right in your living room. Make sure you get that thing coming out of your account and pay it on time every time. You want to know why? Because when I come back to the millionaire and I need another $10,000 and I've given him $15,000 on his $10,000, you give me some money. You gonna give me some money? Oh, look at him. Look how quick it was. You seen that approval process? You see how good my credit is with Mr. Jermaine? So at the end of the day, the more that we do for us, the more that we make the world see us as a respected investment. We are the most incredible people on the face of the planet, and we have proven it over and over again. The only thing we've done is proven that we're not worthy for us to invest in, and therefore we're not worthy for anybody else to invest in. The second that we understand the difference, we'll take over. It's like a day and night shift. It's a light switch. It's not something we have to sit down, we have to come up with, you have to convince, you have to throw a temper. I don't need to throw a temper tantrum and let anybody know that I'm worthy. I know that everybody on this live right now knows Vanessa McBee is worthy. And it's not because of anything that I gave you on a resume or anything I told you about my credentials. It's because my conversation is intelligent enough for you to understand that I have to know what I'm saying just to be as thorough on what the information is. So it's the creation that gives you the proof. Mr. Jermaine don't need to tell you about the fact that he's bad on their hair. The person who was in the chair, who's on Facebook right now going, is the one that's going to tell you what he can do, because he's gifted his brand, his valuation to another person who has been blessed through the exchange of value. That's the value, not the money. Don't get caught up on dollars. Don't get caught up on dollars, because we're being tricked on something. There's an optical illusion in play. So be understanding that you're the value that the money is, not the money gives you value. So because you spend it out on a bunch of fancy whatever, who said ball out, whatever. Now, mind you, I'm Dade County. So know that we created balling. Okay, we are the ball, like we are the ones. We had it go. I was South Beach. I was the whole movement, the 90s movement, the hip hop. All we were the ball out. We were when Puffy was buying out the restaurants. We come from that time. We watched it. I was part of it. I was walking in it. And at the end of the day, none of those people have made their community, their society, and their situation better by participating in that. It was a rush of energy. It was a high for a moment. And we have to learn how to sustain ourselves on goodness and not on passions and pleasures. Passions and pleasures are fleeting. But the disciplines that you put into yourself, let me tell you what you do when you do that. When you pay your bills, you know what you do? You bless your grandchildren. Because your grandchildren are going to say, guess what my grandma did? Guess what my mama did? My daughter came in today. She said, Mama, go ahead and get that money because I know we working towards getting it. We want to move into this house. She ready to move. So she got me pumping so she can move into the house she done watched on Zillow. You understand? So she watches the pride. She takes pride in her mama because her mama takes pride in herself. And she's learning to be proud of herself through me learning to be proud of myself. And all of us. Do you understand how much money is flowing through our communities? Don't let them people tell you nothing on those stats.
It's a lot.
Money. We are getting big time. And at the end of the day, if we put it in a process and we really put it into ourselves, we could live some amazing lifestyles in the same places where they said that's the hood.
Speaking of that, I got to mention, what I don't even know if you've heard, but they've got this thing going on about the Black Pact. Now they have, I think it's the first week of July where they are trying to get everybody to rally and all blacks just support black business. I think it's from the 2nd of July to the 7th. They don't want you to buy anything unless it's with a black business. But there's also this pact that's going around in social media called the Black Pact, where they're really trying to rally black people to only spend their money with each other. Let's speak to that a little bit, because sometimes we have an issue with that, not because we don't necessarily want to, but sometimes the experience is not conducive, you know, because many of us have been exposed and we've gotten a taste of another level, and sometimes you know anyway.
Yeah,
let's speak to that on how can we better support our businesses so that we want to support one another.
First of all, oh my gosh, you're getting ready to open up Pandora's box. All businesses that chocolate people own are not really black businesses, because it's also an agenda. It's not necessarily, is it just owned by a person of ethnic persuasion? You're not looking at, are you an African American or are you a Pan-African ethnicity and me support your business? Because if I support your business and you support European consumption, did I really engage in the circulation? So is it just business that we need to be supporting, or is it the culture at large that we need to be supporting? And then the experiences that we have in our businesses come from us valuing each other. So it comes even deeper of a core. It's not an activity that heals this land. It's a belief. So if we don't believe that we're valuable, it's easy for me to look at somebody who looks like me and treat them disrespectfully, but somebody who looks like them and be able to treat them with honor, because I'm trained to value them and not myself. I'm trained to move out of the hood, except for I'm the only culture that's trained to do that. So are we hood supporting? Because I'm gonna tell you something. There are outside. Hip hop is 85% Caucasian in consumption. So if we were only circulating with ourselves, if we only rap to ourselves, none of them cars, none of them homes, none of them situations would be able to be acquired by that person who is from a Pan-African background. But what did you do when I fed you this money? Did you do something to support the Pan-African society at large? Or did you take it and move out of our societies, move out of our communities, move your resources out, take your children out, and basically teach your next generation, we're not worthy. So what's the point of giving you my money until you give me all of the respect that we have integrated? It's not just a money thing. It's not just a commerce-based situation. It's about us understanding how precious that you are as a flowing entity. Your body right now is an intelligent construct of cellular activity that's coming together to put some, that we need to be a cellular construct where all of us are not just supporting me as a Black business, but what about my Black child? Are you educating my Black child? My life needs to matter, not just my business. So if you go and you're saying, hey, we're going to go together, we're going to have a Black neighborhood, I'm going to buy up the block. If you buy up the block and sell it back to me for 10 times what you bought it for, are you helping me? You are a Black business, but are you edifying our community at large? It's a circular economy that we're needing to build. And we're thinking that means circular trade. See, let me tell you something. A lot of people go into, and I study the way that Jewish money works, right? And they're like, oh, the Jewish dollar trades 12 times before it comes out. But Jewish children stay home with their parents, stay home with their female mother, they're home. The man is out making the money. It does not matter what the temper tantrum is, he's not leaving that family to fend for itself. It doesn't matter what the situation is, he will never leave that family homeless. When you come into United States from other countries and you come into Miami, they register your name and your address. A person in that community gives you an ability to make money. They give you a residence and they give you a vehicle on site. It's bigger than money. It's also in who we are and how we feel about ourselves. So trading around money in a circle only gets us to step A. Do I believe in supporting Black business? Not only do I believe in supporting Black business, I believe in supporting urban businesses. I believe in supporting businesses that support the urban culture and its continuous manifestations. If you are a, for lack of a better term, white business selling hip hop gear, I got you. I shouldn't tell you no, even though you're the hand artist that might have been the graffiti art. If you're Puerto Rican and you're going and you're the graffiti artist or you're doing a hip hop school of dance, should I not send my child there? We don't have enough in our cycle yet for us to say we're going to exclusively move like that. What we're going to end up in is Walmart. Why? Because Walmart has massive buying power. So we can still those numbers are going to still be what they are. Are we pricing ourselves correctly? Are we really only profiting what we need to? Are we reinvesting the profits in the forward motion of us as a community? Do we live in our community? As we're getting this money, are we reinvesting this money? Are we looking better as a community at large? Do we volunteer in our community centers to teach other little children how to be better people overall? How are we influencing our schools? How are we influencing our elderly? How many people sit with the elderly on that 1 hour a week that you have to be able to sit down and treat that person with the honor and respect that they bled and they died to be able to give you the opportunity for you to even register your name against a business in the United States? So it's so much deeper than rap. It's like, it's so much deeper than us being quote unquote Black. Are we even urban? There are a lot of people who they're Black and they come show up in your Black town with their Black skin when it's very Black convenient. And then when it's convenient for them to go cross town, they go over there and they hang with them. See, now we in style. So now it's support the Black. I've been supporting Black. I build them. I love them. I love my people. I mean, I'm chocolate banana. Like I am urbanite bananas. I love fried chicken and collard greens, and people used to say, I never eat watermelon and fried chicken. I just walk around with watermelon and fried chicken coming out my face. I love us. I'm Southern, I'm deep South. We played on our slave land. I love who I am. And I'm glad, I praise God that I was born Black. And I love who I am. And I love the rest of us. I love the chocolate essence that we pour out on. But it's for the world to be able to cultivate us. I don't just want to keep circulating with y'all. I want the world to pay me what I'm worth, because they've been taking our ideas from the time that we began into this country, and they have all the time been utilizing those ideas. Luke went to jail for twerking.
And look at twerking now.
Somebody great-grandma sitting up there. I mean, you understand, why should I keep my culture kidnapped when you've been using it the whole time? Should we support us? Absolutely. We should support us because we are the front run of this country. And we should support us in every realm, every single realm, not just Black businesses, but Black history at large, Black culture in our look, Black essence of clothing. Who is the designers? I have a client right now, and he does 4G technology that he's making, and it comes inside the clothes. He's doing something. I love us. We do it because we lead the world, not as if we're a handicapped crew that needs to be supporting each other. We support each other when we love each other, when we put into each other and we invest in ourselves. When you have a multi-million-dollar business, do you live in the hood? The first thing to do is say, we're not good enough for you anymore. I turn my back on what the essence of who I am is, and I want to move to the good neighborhood. Well, guess who is your neighbors? Karen gonna throw you right out the door. Karen gonna call the whole police force. Karen gonna put the dogs out there. She got a taser. Next door, when you move in, she ain't bringing you no pie. She gonna put you right out the door. She gonna be like, you don't belong in my neighborhood. Why? Because you don't. If you put the same money into our neighborhoods, guess what our neighborhoods look like? I watched cultures come here with absolutely nothing. Nothing. Turn right around and take everything that they have over. Again, let's talk about the Jewish culture. Coming from Holocaust to taking most of the major businesses and owning them. Major corporation. They didn't say we're going to operate amongst each other. They just said we're taking everything. We're going to trade. We're going to honor each other. We're going to honor the laws. We're going to honor our disciplines. But we're going to take, and we're going to infect, and we're going to dominate everywhere you put our finger.
You mentioned something so important, and you said pricing. That rings so loud to me because I think we sometimes we mess up in that area when it comes to our businesses. Let's take that scenario that we talked about earlier with the red beans and rice, the chicken dinner, or the catfish dinner. So I'm cooking dinners, and this is what I do. How do I determine what the price of my catfish, red beans, and rice dinner should be?
Competition. In that particular realm, competition is your guideline. So let's just take, and also consideration. If I want to, business is done on an equilibrium. There's a place where you're going to make money and a person's going to pay you. That's a breaking point. There's an equilibrium point in business. It's the supply demand equilibrium point. At that point, you are also going to profit, and then the person who is consuming it feels that they've received the value of consumption. Let's go under that. If you go under that, everybody in the world is going to be at your front door. Let's just say that it costs you $7 to put that plate together. Everybody in the world is going to be at your front door if you sell it for $5. You're going to be broke because it costs you more to make it than it does to sell, which is why it's important for you to understand your finances. And a lot of times we will make stuff and say, hey, we're going to sell it for this and we're going to do it for that. But until you understand what it costs you, you don't know where your profit is. Take the other side. Let's take that plate and we're going to drizzle some oil on it, and we're going to put it on a big white plate, and we're going to give you a fancy napkin, and we're going to charge you $22 for it. Well, I'm not going to pay for it. Now I'm sure somebody's gonna pay for it. I've seen these things happen. Okay, but you're now gonna reduce that 10,000 count of people who are in agreement to paying for that particular food. My best bet would to say take 10 soul food restaurants that are in your surrounding area. Find out what is the common pricing for that area. The older the restaurant is, the better the reference is, because it means that they have repetition. And that's in everything, hair, makeup, whatever. When you see people, if you see yourself pricing it way over or way under a person who's been in business all day, it's not the way to go. You want to go in the neighborhood of Big Mama's Kitchen that's been there for 25 years, because Big Mama's got people who come there every day or every other day. And she's got different people who are coming by. Hey, baby, I'm going to come by there after church and this, that, and the other. They're going to support her because there is a consistency. That's the circulation of Black business. Big Mama live around the corner. Big Mama go to church around the corner. Big Mama is supporting her neighborhood, so it's easy for you to come back and support Big Mama just on principle alone. So it might be $1 or $2 more than the next person, but I'm going to support her. So when you see how their business is done, it's done through tradition. It's done through dedication. This pricing model needs to be in kind. Can you go up? Absolutely. But look at what happened right now. Let me show you what happened with COVID. This is another thing that was revealed. I make plates. I make plates at the church. The church sell plates for $10 every Saturday. The church is going to have a line coming around the corner, 6 feet apart with a mask on, waiting on somebody to give them this plate because that's $10 and I'm going to go home. The person who went and invested $500,000 into their internal structure has an issue because now the amount that they have to charge for that food will not constitute the market anymore. You can't come in. So now what's the real value to the $22 plate and the church fixing the plates for $10? So it's what the value is to what the consumer is gaining from that particular situation. You have to be able to do this down to the wire, or it's going to take you so. This is why 90% of restaurants fail in 5 years. 90.
Wow.
So that model alone it's a great actually example, because that's one of the things that people end up failing a lot of. Oh, my chicken real good, so I'm gonna charge $17. No, you're not, because if Joe got chicken that's reasonable, his chicken might not be good as yours, baby. I'm going to Joe's restaurant because I need my $7 in my pocket.
Wow. So good. We've been on. I didn't even realize how long it's been, but we've got to cover Paycheck Protection Program one more time, and I want to cover specifically the forgiveness part. How are we to approach that? Those who have received it or are thinking about going forward, what should be their processes? Is it just like when you do your taxes, keeping your receipts, or what's the process for this forgiveness part of the loan?
Okay, well, first and foremost, you have to know that this loan has been approved to be spent on 4 things. That is paycheck, that's your payroll, the interest to the mortgage, either on your on the business property that you claim on your taxes, the lease to that business property that you claim on your taxes, or utilities. And that includes transportation, phone, lights, water, sewage. Those things are included in utilities. That's what it's approved to be spent on. For 8 weeks after you have been issued, and we're talking about counting from the date that you were funded, for 8 weeks, you have to calculate exactly how much your payroll is for that 8 weeks. It gets a little complicated in there. There are some allocations, but that's the general rule with that. For 24 weeks, you can calculate your expenses. After the 24th week, you need to fill out an application from the SBA. The application is 11 pages long. It's intensely complicated, but if you have basic expenses, it could be pretty simple. If not, Please, please, please do not guess your way through that application. Don't do it. You might have been able to figure out how to fill out the application to apply. You might have successfully got approved. That is wonderful. Unless you look at that application and everything looks like something that you can come up with in your pure logic, get help. We're here to help. There are accountants, attorneys, there are consultants all over America. They're studying this by the millisecond. I went into federal files. I went into government briefs. I went into the CARES Act and matched information. In order for me to get what I got, I didn't even go to third-party situations. I studied the actual federal files in order to be able to bring you accurate information on what this is going to entail. And it's delicate. It's very delicate. Now, if you're self-employed and you don't have a lot of expenses, let me gift you something. You're about to pay 75% of it will be instantly forgiven with nothing. You don't need nothing. And then 25% of it will be owed as a loan. Okay. They're going to tell you when your start date of that loan is, and it's time for you to start paying back the people the money. But again, pay your bills. Because that can be the biggest credit builder that you'll have between 2020 and 2021, that, you might have had to take a forbearance on your house. You might have got a kick in the credit from you being late on your rent payment or the lights or whatever. This will be able to help you recover your credit and establish you with a great reputation with the SBA. So the 75-25 rule is going to go with the small businesses, the self-employed people in a general. Now, if you have a self-employed person with an office, go pay that office. That'll take up the other 25%. Make sure you have evidence of you paying, them receiving when you paid, and you have the evidence to come from it. You fill that out, you attach the application, you get that submitted over to your lender. You should be able to walk off with most of that loan to be forgiven. But again, there's a lot of different legal nuances in the middle of it, just to be for clarity purposes, what can be claimed, what can't be claimed, and what permissions and things we were talking about earlier with the employment situation. Are you going back to work with a modification? There's a lot going on in how they're going to forgive it. And I have to give you one last point, and that last point is that this is a forgivable loan, so it's not taxed.
So that means you don't have to claim it as income.
It's not income.
Wow. Well, that is news that we needed to know. Thank you. Well, Vanessa McBee, tell us how we can contact you for not only Paycheck Protection Program, but you mentioned credit restoration and all the other things that you do.
Yes, please. I'm looking to help everybody who's looking to be helped and the ability to be able to bring themselves into loan readiness. So anybody who's looking not only to be able to get the Paycheck Protection Program, but anybody who wants to come into loan readiness, please contact me at vanessa@vmcbee.com. So that's Vanessa, VANESSA at vmcbuzzingbee.com. And we're in real time. We're renovating the website. We're renovating the social media sites. Everything is on extreme blast right now. I know everybody wants to start businesses. I know everybody wants to recover from this COVID situation. I know that people want to go and take that side hustle and make it the main hustle. We're here for you. We're ready to support you in anything you want to do in the entrepreneurial realm. We live here. We're the Moses of this thing. So you coming out of out into the wilderness now. We live in the wilderness. We know how to get the water out of the cactus. Okay. So at the end of the day, this is what we do. I've been doing this for 25 years. I've been doing this since the Biggie Smalls was rapping. Okay. And at the end of the day, we're here to be able to bless you with anything that we can. So please send me your questions, send me your opportunities, send me your thoughts, send me your feelings. Just send it to me so that we can start cultivating us a real network of trade, of support, and of influence that'll be able to penetrate generations to come.
And that's at Vanessa@mcbee.com. So Vanessa, real quick recap for the Paycheck Protection Program. When is it up? When do they need to have their applications in? And when can they expect funding if they put their applications in? When can they kind of expect to get the money?
You have 9 days to activate. Everybody who has got a Schedule C with a positive number to it or a 1099 needs to contact me instantly and immediately. The moment you get approved, I got approved. My personal loan got approved in 5 hours. And that's not an exaggeration. I cut it and showed, literally put it in my own journal that this was submitted at this time and they had my loan. I'm sorry. For some reason we're here. Yeah. So open up that account with the SBA, accept the money you're comfortable with, and let's talk about how to use it to make more money to make sure that you can pay it back.
So good. So paycheck protection loan, you have 9 days to get it in. Even if you're not interested in paycheck protection, if you have a business you want to start, anything like that, Miss McBee is available. Her agency is very good at what they do, and they will help you through that process. Vanessa, I appreciate you joining me. So promise me this, as you get more updates, even if you said some reallocations were going on with some of that leftover money. So yes, if you hear anything that may be coming up after the loan is closed, keep us posted so we can get you back on and let our people know what's happening.
It is my honor. It's my pleasure. I love chocolate business, please. At the end of the day, anything that I come across that can assist us in moving forward as a culture, I am all over it. And anything that would support us as being generationally wealthy and inheritance driven, I'm willing to expand on. So not only just what's coming in, but how to push it out right to make sure that everybody's moving money.
Yep.
It's my honor.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you all for watching. Share this, the replay. Give somebody this information so that we can build wealth in our community. It's time. Yes. It's our season. We on the map. It's time for us to rule.
It's us. We on focus right now. We in style.
Yes, God. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you, Vanessa, and we'll see you guys real soon.
God bless you. Thank you.
Well, I trust you enjoyed the episode and you were enlightened. Please, as I stated earlier before the show, in the comments, I want to hear what you have to say. I'm curious. I love the dialogue. I love to get the feedback to understand what helped you, what enlightened you, what perspectives you may have that weren't mentioned. This continued dialogue is so necessary between us. So I am curious to hear what your thoughts are. As for the episode itself, part 1 and part 2 for getting paid in the pandemic, we may run a couple of these series here and there, but typically I like to have some of these conversations on the live platform so we can engage with the audience real time, which is why I'm so adamant about getting you to share your perspective on the show. But here it is again. This is part 2 of getting paid in the pandemic. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your continued support of the show, and be on the lookout for new episodes of the Build on Beauty podcast. Always, I invite you to follow me on any of my platforms, social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all Cornell Jermaine, CornellJermaine. And I invite you to follow and engage with me there as well to continue the dialogue. Again, thank you so much for your support. Until next time, as I always say, let your soul be made whole. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Build on Beauty podcast. For more information about our host, please visit CornellJermaine.com.